From its very first episode, The Jeffersons made it clear that television was about to change. The snappy banter, the gleaming high-rise apartment, and the unapologetic confidence of George Jefferson radiated a message. Black families were here to shatter stereotypes and claim a seat at the primetime table. While many remember the catchphrase "Wheezy" and the unforgettable theme song, fewer people know about the controversies simmering behind the scenes, conflicts that eventually led to a sudden end, leaving millions of fans bewildered. And at the heart of it all was one infamous scene, a moment so provocative it might have cost the Jeffersons its future. Let's uncover the truth behind the abrupt cancellation of a show that had once seemed unstoppable. In the early 1970s, creator Norman Lear was already pushing boundaries with shows like All in the Family, shining a light on heated social issues. But he also sought input from unexpected places. Reportedly, some members of the Black Panther Party challenged him to produce more honest portrayals of Black families. From that seat of conversation emerged George and Louise Jefferson, who started as neighbors on All in the Family and quickly stole the spotlight. By 1975, Lear spun the couple off into their own series, letting them move on up to a deluxe apartment in Manhattan. For many viewers, witnessing a Black family succeed so visibly on TV felt almost revolutionary. Here was George, a confident business owner, and Louise, Wheezy, the warm but no-nonsense backbone of the household. Their move from a working-class neighborhood into an upscale world of posh neighbors and endless opportunity spoke volumes about ambition and equality. That spirit of upward mobility wasn't often shown on television, and the show's premise alone attracted instant fanfare. Before the Jeffersons, American TV typically portrayed Black families as struggling, subservient, or comic relief. Viewers had rarely seen a successful Black businessman as head of a household. George Jefferson's brash, boastful personality and Louise's poised kindness tore down these old cliches. Their son Lionel, already known to audiences from All in the Family, was a college student with big dreams, a stark contrast to the usual roles relegated to young Black men on TV. Audiences tuned in week after week, delighted by the fresh perspective. As ratings soared, even skeptics had to admit that The Jeffersons was delivering something new and important. It proved so popular that it became the first African-American-led sitcom to break into the Nielsen Top 5 since Sanford and Son. The show's humor often poked at America's discomfort with race and class, encouraging conversations that had long been avoided. One reason The Jeffersons caught fire was its willingness to mix the comedic with the confrontational. It tackled racism head-on, showing the Jeffersons navigating life in a predominantly white building. At times, neighbors' attitudes ranged from polite curiosity to outright bigotry, but George always refused to play the victim, responding with sharp wit. Interracial relationships also took center stage, further challenging conventional norms. That blend of brash comedy and real-world issues propelled the Jeffersons into pop culture stardom. Its episodes regularly landed in top 10 rankings, carrying forward the comedic energy established by Norman Lear's other trailblazing shows. The twist here was that The Jeffersons wasn't about a family just getting by. It was about a family thriving, and that shift in representation rippled through the television landscape and beyond. While the show's public image was mostly positive, a storm brewed behind the scenes. Writer Eric Monti claimed that Norman Lear had hijacked his creative concepts, leading to fierce legal battles. This tug-of-war called into question how much credit Lear deserved for the show's premise versus ideas Monti believed he had championed first. Even inside the studio, not everyone was on the same page. Sherman Hemsley, who brought George Jefferson to life, began speaking out against certain scripts that employed language he found overly offensive, especially racial slurs. Early on, he tolerated them, partially because The Jeffersons was meant to be edgy, but as the years rolled by, he questioned whether some gags went too far. Cast members also had personal disagreements, sometimes spilling onto the set, fueling rumors that all was not well behind the cameras. Toward the later seasons, the show attempted to maintain its provocative edge. One particular episode or moment, depending on who tells the story, supposedly introduced a scene so racially charged that it made even the most daring network executives uneasy. Some say it was a script page peppered with slurs. Others whisper it involved a plot twist that risked alienating the loyal fan base. Though the details vary, it's widely believed that tensions around this scene escalated friction between producers and the cast, particularly Hemsley, who had already voiced discomfort about how far the show was pushing certain boundaries. Network executives were apprehensive. Advertisers grew cautious, worried that public outrage or pressure groups might erupt if the episode aired without heavy editing. According to rumors at the time, CBS mulled whether to scale back the content, rework entire scripts, or potentially bury the show if it veered into territory deemed too explosive. Meanwhile, the cast, having lived and breathed these characters for a decade, felt both proud of their success and weary of behind-the-scenes drama. After all, the show wasn't just another sitcom, it was a cultural benchmark. In 1985, despite solid, though slightly declining viewership, CBS pulled the plug on the Jeffersons with almost no warning. Sherman Hemsley learned of the cancellation from a newspaper article rather than from any formal network announcement, a move many saw as a sign of disrespect for a show that had consistently performed and broken barriers. Fans were left stunned. Why would CBS end a series that had made such an impact and still boasted a devoted following? Some insiders pointed to creative differences and the weariness of battling controversies for years. Others believed that infamous scene or script, whatever form it took, had finally pushed the network beyond its comfort zone. Combine that with rumored tensions on set and the accusations flying around behind closed doors, and it's not hard to see how this perfect storm might have prompted executives to cut their losses. Abrupt or not, the final blow had landed, snatching the show from the air and leaving a gaping hole in America's TV lineup. It's almost ironic that a show canceled so unceremoniously had racked up major accolades. The Jeffersons received 14 Emmy nominations throughout its run, a testament to the talent on set. In 1981, Isabel Sanford's historic Emmy win cemented Louise Jefferson as one of television's most iconic matriarchs. No African-American actress before her had taken home that award for Best Actress in a comedy series. The theme song, "Movin' On Up," became an anthem for ambition, still recognized in pop culture references and parodies decades later. In the years since its cancellation, The Jeffersons has been celebrated repeatedly with cast reunions and tributes, including a 2019 live special. Its influence is evident in modern shows that portray affluent Black families or that tackle racial and social themes with comedic bite. The abrupt end may have stung, but nothing could erase the groundbreaking contributions the series made. Even the controversies that dogged the production proved how powerful and provocative it really was. In the end, the Jeffersons soared to heights rarely seen before, painting a portrait of a proud, prosperous Black family that dared to navigate a sometimes hostile society on their own terms. Whether the show's abrupt cancellation was caused by creative disputes, the rumored infamous scene, or network politics, one fact remains: the Jeffersons left an indelible mark on American pop culture. It broke barriers, launched meaningful conversations about race and class, and gave us characters as beloved as George and Louise. Could the Jeffersons thrive in today's increasingly scrutinized media environment, or would its irreverent handling of hot-button issues ignite controversy all over again? That's a question only time can answer, but there's no question the show's legacy still resonates. Decades later, we're still humming "Movin' On Up" and remembering how a sitcom taught the nation that success, humor, and social change can go hand in hand, even if it all came crashing down in one final, unexpected moment.